for this session, this library webinar on legal research. My name's Michael. I'm a teaching and research support librarian at the university. And I've got my colleagues Ben with me and also Jessica Davis. Jessica is a teaching liaison librarian and she's going to talk to us today about legal research. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Awabakal people, the traditional custodians of the land where I'm zooming in from today, and to the Darkinjung people where Jess is based, and also to the traditional owners of all the lands where people are joining us from today. And I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So just before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. I will be moderating the session, so if you have questions, pop them into chat and myself and Ben will try our best to answer them, or we can pass them on to Jess as well. And we will also have time for questions at the end, so stick around and we can have a chat and ask your questions then as well. This session is being recorded, so you will be sent a recording at the end, and it will also be put up on the website with other past webinars for you to look at there. And we have also enabled the closed captions, so feel free to turn those on as well. Okay, and just to start, we have a quick poll. So it'd be great if you could put some answers in there. I'm just going to launch that. So I'll just give everyone just a little bit of time to answer those questions, and then we'll pass over to Jess. All right, thanks everyone for doing that. Just going to save those results. Okay, over to you, Jess.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. So as Michael said, my name is Jess. I'm a librarian here at the University of Newcastle. I will just share my screen. And then go to full screen mode. All right, cool. So today I'm going to be running you through the basics of legal research. So today's session is going to cover what legal research is, what are primary and secondary sources, and how to find legal research materials. So we'll begin with what legal research is. Legal research is the process of finding and retrieving information necessary for legal decision making. It includes finding primary sources of law, searching secondary sources for background information, and searching non-legal sources for supporting information. While it is necessary for law students to gain a really good understanding of how to conduct legal research throughout their degree and continuously build upon these skills once they begin their legal career, for those of you who are doing a non-law degree, you may find that knowing how to do legal research will enable you to discuss the impact of a particular law, case, or area of law on your discipline area. Knowing about the source types and what type of sources you need to look for will enable to find the information that you need. So when it comes to legal research, we use the term primary sources and secondary sources, which may be familiar terminology to you. When we say primary sources in relation to legal materials, we are referring to case law and legislation. So case law is the law developed by judges and courts. Laws are made by judges when they make decisions in court cases. While legislation is law made by Parliament and its delegated authority, and it forms the laws that govern society and is used by judges to create case law. Both are equally important in legal research, but if you are new to looking for law resources, or even if you're an experienced lawyer who is faced with an area of law you're unfamiliar with, you're likely not going to have enough knowledge to be able to search for these sources straight away. Which brings us to secondary sources. So secondary sources are not the law itself. Instead, they're created to describe, analyze, or critique the law. They're a really great place to start when conducting legal research. They are most often written in a language style which is a lot more easy to understand than the primary sources are, and they can provide you with an overview of legal issues, help you to understand legal terminology and develop keywords, and help you to determine the legal issues that the question you are responding to may pose. Quite often, they will also reference or provide links to the primary sources on your topic. So some examples of these type of sources are textbooks, case citators, which we'll have a look at in further detail in this session, legal dictionaries, legal encyclopedias, journal articles, newspaper articles, bill second readings, conference papers, and parliamentary reports. So when it comes to deciding what type of resource you should use as a general guide for an introduction to legal terminology, look for legal dictionaries, legal encyclopedias, and basic textbooks. For an overview of a legal issue, basic textbooks and journal articles about the area of law. For an in-depth examination of legal topics, look for journal articles, in-depth texts, parliamentary reports, law reform reports, second readings, and conference papers. So one of the most important things to remember when doing legal research throughout your degree is that the library catalogue does not hold all of the legal resources. This is because the library catalogue is unable to search case law and legislation. However, you can still use the library catalogue to find textbooks and some journal articles. To find legal resources, you'll need to use law-specific databases. The top Australian ones are AGIS Plus Text, Ausley, Westlaw AU, and Lexis Advance. You can access these databases via our Law Secondary Sources Subject Guide, which is available via the library homepage. So you go to the library homepage and then you scroll down to Access, and then we have the link to Subject Resource Guides. I will scroll down to L for Law. And you can see from here, we actually have 3 guides for law, one on case law, one on legislation, and one on secondary sources. So I'll just click through to there. And you can see we have links to how you can find journal articles as well as media resources in there. Find other legal commentary, so the dictionaries and encyclopedias, information about legal abbreviations, subject-specific commentary, case citators, statutes annotators, parliamentary papers, and law reform commission reports, as well as some information on how to find books and ebooks and referencing. So I'll just click on the Find Journal Articles, and we have a link to the key Australian resources here. So because I may have some non-law students in here, I am going to stick to the freely available databases because you're more likely to have access to these once you finish your degree, while law students, you may have access to the paid databases through the legal firm that you end up being employed by. So I'm going to access Ausley because it provides free access to full Australian and international journal articles. So I'll just go to Ausley. And then to do a search, I'm just going to go down here and then to advanced search, which brings up my search screen. And then I want to do a Boolean query. So I'm just going to change that tab there. And then I will type in duty of care and teacher. and high school. You can change the date of the resources that come back in the search as well. I'm just going to leave the dates as is, but you can kind of see the breadth of the dates that you may be able to find via OSLI. I'm going to deselect all of the databases. And then I am going to choose to search in all secondary materials databases and then click Advanced Search. And then you can see that it comes up where you can sort by relevance, by citation frequency, by database, by date, or by title, as well as it shows a relevance score on the side here that gives you a bit of an indication of how relevant the database has decided that the article is based on the keywords that you've used. So for this one, I've got a thesis first, but then that is followed by a whole bunch of journal articles. So once you've done this searching of secondary sources, you can look for primary sources. So case law can be found in a few different ways. If through your secondary sources you have found a citation for a case that you want to find, you can use that to find the case. This is the most accurate way to search, as a citation acts as a unique identifier. So if you search for it correctly, only one case will show up in your results list. Case citations are made up of the case name, which is the name of the parties that the case deals with, the year the decision was handed down, the volume number of the report series it was published in, if it's available, the abbreviated title of the law report series it was published in, or if it hasn't been published in a law report series, it is the abbreviated title of the court that the case was heard at, and then the pinpoint number of where the case is located in its published form. The most important thing to remember about searching for cases is that cases quite often have multiple citations. This is due to when cases are first decided, they are given a citation straight away. This citation will generally have the name of the court where the case was heard at as the abbreviated title of the citation. However, if a case is considered to be important or is of interest, it may be published in a law report series. Law report series are records of court decisions, and when a case is published in one, a new citation is created. When a case has multiple citations, this is referred to as parallel citations. So if you don't have the full citation, you can search using just the party names. This has the potential to be less accurate as you need to spell the names correctly, and sometimes the names are spelled differently depending on which database you are searching. You can also find case by topic. So the way that you do that is first you need to define and determine the key legal issues and think of keywords. When defining the legal issues, you really have to think about what legal terminology may be used, keeping in mind that it is most likely different from colloquial language that we may use naturally. This is where the legal encyclopedias and dictionaries that I mentioned before come in really handy. Also think of synonyms for the search terms, and use Boolean connectors such as and or in order to combine your concepts. You can also use phrase searching using quotation marks to make sure that you're finding relevant results. So to conduct these searches, you can use a case citator. So case citators are a great resource as they summarize reported cases, show the correct citation of a case, including its medium neutral citation, shows if a case has been reported more than once, and shows the earlier cases a case has considered when the decision was being made. It also shows if the case has been considered in later cases. So the top Australian case citators are First Point, Case-Based, Lawcite, and Jade. We have access to them via our case law subject guide. So again, this is accessible via the library homepage. And then they are just in find cases, and we have the key Australian case citators. Again, I'm going to stick to the free resources today, so I will pop into Lawcite. And you can see when I click on it, the search page pops up. So to search a citation, I will type in the year the decision was handed down, the volume number of the law report series, the abbreviated title of the law report series, and then the pinpoint number. And then press search. Okay, and you can see that the case has popped up. So you can see underneath it has what I was referring to before, where it has parallel citations. It's been published in quite a few different law report series. You can also tell from the amount of cases referring to this case that it is quite an important case. That list will just keep going on down the page, but you can navigate up here as well. So if you wanted to see if there's any law reform reports referring to it, you can click there, as well as law journal articles referring to the case as well. But it is of quite important, this case. And you can also see where the case was heard as well. If I want to search via the party name, I would search in the parties search box. So I can type in Quamby, and you can see it does have an autocomplete, or you can just put the first party name there and then the second party name there, but I will just click that and then press search. And you can see this is a good example because I had the correct citation for the first case I searched for, only one came up, but because I only had the party name for this particular case, 3 cases have shown up. So I'll just use the one that was handed down in 2008 as an example. But if you click on that, it'll come up. It has, so you can see from this example, this one does not have as many cases that refer to this case, but it has the cases referring to the case, the law journal articles referring to it, the legislation cited, and then the cases and articles cited. This one only has 2 parallel citations, but it also has information about where the case was heard. So LawCite does not have the option for me to be able to search by topic for a case. So other case citators, CaseBase and First Point do, but this one doesn't. So you can also search for cases in OSLI. So to do that, I will go back to Advanced Search, back to Boolean query, and I can do just a topic search. Except this time, the database that I'm going to search is all case law databases. I'm also going to do Commonwealth all cases and then Advanced Search. And you can see there's quite a difference in the type of results I'm coming back just from the few citations. These are all cases that are coming up because instead of searching in the secondary sources, I'm now searching in the cases. If you were to search in all databases as an option, you would get everything back. So we'll move past cases now and we'll move to the other primary source of law, which is legislation. So most Australian jurisdictions provide free access to legislation via government websites. You can also search for legislation on legal databases. However, the text will not be the authorised version. This is important to know for law students, as the authorised version is the one that is needed in court. So it's good practice to get in the habit of using the authorised version now. There is also a likelihood that the text of the legislation might be out of date on legal databases. So that's another reason to use the authorised version. Okay. So again, we have a law legislation subject guide where we have links to finding legislation. For New South Wales bills, the best place to look is the authorised version, which is Parliament of New South Wales website. And for New South Wales Acts, it's New South Wales legislation. So we'll have a look at bills first. So bills are proposed legislation that are presented for debate and the possibility of becoming law. The authorised website, as I said, is the Parliament of New South Wales for New South Wales bills. So I'll just go to Key Australian Resources, Parliament of New South Wales, and then click through. So when this page initially opens, it opens to current session bills. The bill I'm looking for is not current session though. So you can either click on assented bills or all bills. So assented bills are the ones that have been agreed to and have since become law. All bills is the text of every bill that has been proposed in Parliament. You also have links to an explanation of the legislative process and the bills glossary. Both these links are incredibly helpful, and I really recommend that you check them out if you're having any issues understanding any of the terminology or understanding exactly anything about bills, basically. So because I don't know if this bill was assented to, I will go to all bills. And I have the option to either browse by bill title or I can search. So for this example, I'm going to browse by bill title and I'm looking for the Music Festivals Bill 2019. So I'll press M and then scroll down. And it's just there. So I'll click on it. And you can see that it comes up with the information about the bill. So it has the status of it. So it was assented to on Thursday, the 21st of November, 2019. It was Act number 17 of 2019. It has the member with carriage. It has a long title, which is good because it gives you just a quick explanation of what the bill is actually about. It has the history of the progress through the Legislative Assembly and also the Legislative Council, and also the documents and transcripts. So it has the full text of the bill. It has the previous version. It has the explanatory notes. So the explanatory notes are there. They were originally created so members of Parliament could understand what the bill was exactly about. So these notes are generally written in plain English. So they're a great place to start if you're not fully sure what the bill is about and you need a bit of extra explanation. It also has a transcript of speeches. So it has a second reading speech, amendments, and amendments agreed to. So you can download that there. So next we'll look at acts. So I will go back to the guide, scroll up and go to find legislation acts. We have an explanation of what acts are, as well as links to key Australian resources. So acts are the law that is made by Parliament. So if a bill is assented to, it will become an act. So the authorised version for New South Wales acts is New South Wales legislation. And then you can browse in force to see what acts are there. And then we have acts here. I will go to M. And then down to the Music Festivals Act 2019. So this opens up the text of the act. So to view the full act, you can click there and that will give you the text of the full act. If you want to download it as a PDF, once you've done that, you can say view PDF and you can save it from there. To look throughout the act, you can use this left-hand side menu or you can go to search acts. So this will give you the option to search within. So you might have a particular question about what's within the act. So for example, I want to know what happens if I fail to comply with the act. And because I have not used the exact language which is likely within the act, I'm just going to change that search using to all of the words and then press search. And then it comes up with a link to the section of the acts which explains the offence for failure to have and comply with an approved safety management plan for a music festival. And you can click through there. You can also see the history of the act. You might need to know exactly what the act looked like at a particular point in history. So that's a great link for you to be able to do it there. So that brings us to the end of that. So does anybody have any questions?
Not so far, Jess.
Okay. You can give people a minute that they can type if needed. Oop.
Okay, Jess,
Mhm.
we do have a question.
Yep.
So Peter has searched for the Fair Work under the Acts section
Mhm.
and wasn't able to find it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why that is, Peter. We can have a look.
On the New South Wales Legislation Act. We'll go to enforce fair, because that's fair trading amendments. Nothing's coming up there.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the legislation
No,
and
either
where that would be.
yeah,
Might have to
either
do a
am
bit
I.
more.
Unless it has a slightly different title, would be the only thing that I can think of.
Yep. I think looking at the jurisdiction and the actual wording of the name of the Act would be what we would have to do for that.
Also, is it New South Wales legislation or is it Commonwealth legislation?
Yep. Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
Okay.
So yeah. So it wouldn't come up on New South Wales legislation. So that's something really important to remember with case law and with legislation. Jurisdiction is really important to keep in mind. So for the authorized version of Commonwealth legislation, we'll go to the Federal Register of Legislation and then go to Acts in Force and go to, so we've got the Fair Work Act 2009, Fair Work Registered Organisation Acts 2009, and the Fair Work Transitional Provisions and Consequential Amendments Act 2009. So yeah, you can pop it up in there. You can also do a search on there as well. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Yes, thanks, Jess, from the chat.
Nice. Okay, are there any more questions coming in?
Nothing at this stage.
Okay. Well, let's move on. So where to find help from here? So if you go to the library homepage and you see this little grey box here that says Ask the Library and click on it, you'll be sent to our contact details where you can send us an email or give us a call. We also have a live library chat on there as well that you can chat to us during opening hours, as well as we have a service called Book a Librarian where you can book either myself or one of my colleagues and we can have a one-on-one session where we can help you with any of your questions that you need help with. And also just wanted to let you know about the academic learning support team. They can help you with writing and help you with your assignments, as well as the help that we provide. So they have workshops and online resources that you can work through in your own time. They're really helpful, really recommend checking out what they can offer to you as well. So yeah, so unless there's any last minute questions, we can leave it at there.
No other questions at this stage. Also, just a reminder that any postgrad students can contact their research liaison librarian as well for help. Anyone from the law school or from any of the other schools, if you're working on legal research, you can contact a research liaison librarian.
We also have a library survey running at the moment that would be really great for you to fill out. It's actually my background, so if I go like this, you can see it there. It's accessible via our library homepage. If you can fill it out, it would be really great because we just want to know how we can better provide services to you. So it's all about our library spaces, the services that we have. So yeah, it's running until the 21st of August, and we have prizes that you can win, including the first prize is a pair of Beats headphones. Great.
Okay. I think we're just about wrapping up. I'm going to put up the last poll. So we've got a few more questions. If you could have a go at those. Great. Thanks everyone for answering those questions. There's nothing else in chat at this stage, Jess.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. The recording will be sent out to you.
All right. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Cool. Thanks. Bye, everyone.